welcome to the Republica Unicornia podcast. I'm Kathleen. I am an indie yarn dyer, a project bag maker, and just a big old creative, chaotic, hot mess. It's been a minute, several minutes. I don't think I've recorded since Thanksgiving. I kind of disappear for all of December and January, so I am coming out of hibernation and I am glad to be here. If you are just stopping by, I have no idea how you found me because the algorithm's gonna hate me because I never upload, but here I am. This is not going to be soothing. I am not a soothing person, but if you would like some creative, crafty, all over the place chatter, this is your spot. There may be some low-key or less than low-key swearing, so if you are sensitive to that or you are watching with humans with sensitive ears, you might want to keep moving. I don't even know where to start, y'all. So here's how this is gonna go. We got a plan. I got notes. We'll see how it goes. I am we're gonna do knitting, then we're gonna talk about sewing, and we're gonna talk about sewing plans, and we're gonna talk in there about finished objects and books and all just stuff. There will be some shameless self-promotion. I'm going to do that at the end of the video. Chances are I'm not going to remember. I'm going to try. But I do have a shop update coming up. So if you would like to hear more about that, you can hang out till the end. If not, you can just go about your day. So hello. How's I'm doing? I believe deeply in hibernation. I live in the deep south. It's not that it's that cold, but the light gets to me, and I learned a long time ago that I actually am just not at my best in, January is a nightmare. December's got all the holidays and all that kind of stuff, and then January I just like sit around and knit. I did a lot. I made a lot of things. I baked a lot. I rested a lot. I did a lot of like the deep cleaning house stuff. Like I took care of our pantry. We bought a new dining room table. Like there's just kind of winter is for house management stuff too. I do highly recommend, by the way, the book Wintering by Katherine May. If you, like me, sort of struggle with New Year's and getting started. It's just really affirming and beautiful, and she's an amazing writer. I would actually recommend literally everything she's written. So Wintering is amazing. But I read the book a few years ago and it really changed how I feel about winter. I am not, I think I said on Instagram that I'm a deciduous tree. I'm gonna, and if you look, I think even in colder parts of the country, the trees are starting to bud, and that's kind of, sounds like a puberty thing. Ew. I'm 39 years old. We are way past that. But as soon as February hits, I start getting ready to go. And so I just know this about myself, and I'm really lucky to have a job that I don't have to be on all the time. And so, anyway, this is kind of part of, this is me coming into, ew. Why does the word bud sound gross now? Okay, we're just going to talk about knitting. Okay, so, this is not everything. Just full stop. It's not, but I do want to talk about a couple of things that I've been making. I've been on like a sweater finishing making kick, and I do want to talk about these. I also I'm going to push it to sewing. Never mind. Stay focused. So I decided in December with like a week and a half that I wanted to make a sweater to wear to an event. And the Botanical Gardens in Atlanta has this really fabulous lighting thing. You go at night and there's light displays everywhere, and it's just really beautiful, and it's something Steven's my spouse. Steven and I have always done. And so I wanted to make a 1940s outfit for it because I'm a lunatic. And I knit this sweater in not very much time, which was kind of fun. I don't know if I've talked about this here, but I joined Squidney Knits Patreon. It's Squid School of Vintage Knitting, and I'm obsessed. Such a fangirl. I'm so embarrassing. So she does, her aesthetic is very much mine. She loves the same era of everything, but she takes vintage patterns and she updates them with instructions, but they're all knit to your measurements. So as a garment sewist, I actually have noticed that as I've gone on in garment sewing. I've gotten really fussy about fit and knitwear, and I'm not as forgiving as I once was with modern patterns and just with patterns in general. I'm like, oh, this arm size is too deep. And like, yes, I can modify it, but that's not something that I felt comfortable doing on my own. And so I joined the Patreon mainly to watch her talk once a month, just charmingly, about the history of knitting, which is like, and historic knitting and vintage knitting, and it's delightful, like worth every dollar. But she also releases a pattern a month, and these are just, they're incredible. And so you do have to be a little more familiar and comfortable with taking your own measurements. It is not mindless knitting where you just like sit down and like, you know, knit stockinette in the round forever and ta-da, you have a sweater that kind of fits. Like there's calculations involved. You have to knit a swatch, which I have historically not been great at, but I am willing to do it for the right thing. And so it's amazing. I've actually made 3 patterns so far, all green and green yarn. I've made 3 patterns so far, and I can tell a difference that it has absolutely made me a better knitter. And I really appreciate that. I'm pretty advanced, experienced at knitting. And this has been really helpful. And so I've been able to take the things that I've learned there and apply them to other stuff. So we'll talk about that in a second. All that to say, so this is actually the second of hers that I have made. This is the Homefront Jumper. It's so cute. It's so cute. It is a very classic 1940s puff sleeve, sort of like half sleeve, cropped, basic, I would say, sweater. But the fit is absolutely beautiful. And I'll talk about a couple of things that I did. It is my first time setting in sleeves, and you can kind of tell, but that is okay. I'm officially on team set in sleeves now. It's not like it's fun, but it really does make a difference in fit. So it has like the cutest little puff sleeves, and it actually buttons up the back, you can see. And I used, these are vintage Art Deco glass buttons. I have a little bit of a button problem, and I cannot be controlled on Etsy with vintage glass buttons. And they're so great in knitwear because you hand wash knitwear, so you can use all the fancy buttons you want. So they will feature prominently in this episode. And so it's got a little button placket on it. I actually don't need the button placket. And as is my wont, I did sew down a little ribbon to give the buttons a little stability. It was really enjoyable. It is a lot of stockinette in the round, but the fitting is a thing. And I really it's just so nice to have a piece of knitwear that fits, and it looks great with all of my 1940s trousers, and I've gotten a lot of wear out of it. The yarn is actually a one-of-a-kind colorway. I wanted like a Kelly green, and I have one that it's close to a yarn in my colorway library, but this was like, let's over dye it 19 times. I don't think I could do it again. But the yarn base, I'm sneaking in shameless self-promotion, I'm sorry. The yarn base is a Blueface Leicester silk cashmere blend, which will be coming to the next shop update because I love a fancy yarn. It is really nice to work with. It is a 3-ply. It has a little bit of drape to it, but it's not shiny like some silks can be. And I will say the one thing, and I will be upfront about this, it's a little splitty, a little more than, I guess maybe more than the 4 plies. I think it just might be more plies. It's a little bit less prone to splitting, I found. But it is absolutely worth it because hello BFL silk cashmere. It's like all of my favorite things in one spot. So it's very soft. It's very drapey. It was delightful to work. So that is the Homefront Jumper. And I will link to her Patreon below because seriously, I should have done it years ago. I was chicken. I'm not good with change. I'm not good with new things. I was like, So this is the next one of hers. So I cast these on at the same time, and I actually finished the Homefront Jumper before Christmas, and I wore it to my event, and it was very fun, even though it was cold and I had a coat on. But I knew I was wearing a new sweater, as did poor Steven, who had to listen to me blather on about it. You know what? These buttons are just going to be undone. So this is the next one that I made. So I made this one at the same time. This might be the most beautiful thing that's ever come off my needles. And there are also full posts on Instagram about all this because, there are. This is the Maureen Sweater. Oh my gosh. I can't get over how beautifully this looks, like how it fits and just like how I feel it. It's so glamorous. Like it's a glamorous jumper. So it is this really lovely lace pattern. And it's got this lace pattern, and it's 3/4 length sleeve, and it also has puff sleeves. I did a much better job setting in sleeves on this one. Turns out it's a thing you get better at. And it buttons at the shoulders. Again, I haven't needed to. I don't know, a small head. I haven't needed to do that, but I used these really, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick them up. It's unbuttoned there. These like lovely glass Art Deco green buttons. And of course I sewed a ribbon on. Honestly, the sewing a ribbon on the button side of a button band, like the side that you sew the buttons on, is just one of those little steps that just elevates everything. I am not a fussy human, but I'm getting to, in knitting and sewing, like getting a little more into those finishing steps because I've been doing it long enough and enough that I have space for that. But it also does really help give some stability, especially in a hand knit. It gives some stability, and it makes the buttons easier to sew on. So all kinds of winning. So yeah, absolutely love this one. Just huge fan. So I've been wearing this. The yarn is one of my very original colorways. It's Moonlight Through the Pines because I'm a resident of Georgia. And Georgia on My Mind is our state song. I forget that I'm a resident of Georgia, just Atlantan. But it is just basically one of my favorite greens. It's a tonal. There's like a bunch of different greens in here to get this. It's piney. It looks different in different lights. So like in a lower light, it looks a lot deeper and darker, and it's a little more like brighter in sunlight. And I love it very much. I've dyed it for as long as I've been dyeing yarn. Predates me actually starting a yarn business. It has changed a little bit over the years. It's gotten a little bit less variation in it, which is actually fantastic because it makes it better for a garment yarn. Because you don't have to worry about like weird variations that are going to look funky. So I think it worked really well in this. So that is the Maureen sweater. And this one, I think I talked about this when I cast it on. So I cast this sweater on last April, I think. And I picked colors that I knew were going to be my like February, like end of January, February colors that I liked. And then like it got hot and I knew I wasn't going to wear it for the fall. So I kind of switched to the scummier, darker colors. I have a plan generally. And so I set it aside. And then when I picked it up again, I had learned all of this fabulous stuff about fit. And so this ended up being a little bit more of a project because I made quite a few adjustments to the pattern based on my yarn substitution and based on my new obsession with having all of my knitwear fit perfectly. So that's what took a little bit of time. I am really pleased with it. It did feel like it drug a little bit at the end because I couldn't just kind of tune out. The pattern is not difficult. The pattern is great. This is the Jojo Sweater by Susan Crawford. It is only available through her Stitch in Time Volume 3 Colorwork ebook pre-order thing. I've talked about it here before. Oh my gosh, worth every set. I feel like I could just knit from that forever and just be totally happy. So I made some modifications. It calls for a sport weight yarn, and I used a light fingering weight. So this is all BFL sock and pure BFL. I'll talk about colors in a second. And my row gauge is very off from hers. Like I learned that on other patterns, and so I kind of have to be careful. And one thing that she does that is really helpful if you match her gauge is instead of saying like do such and such, like knit for 6 inches or whatever it is, she sets it up with the chart and rows and things like that. And for me, because my row gauge is off, I just couldn't do that. So I had to do some math. But honestly, I love it so much. It fits perfectly. I wasn't even mad about it. It's good for my brain. So the other thing is I think she gives you options for like 3 colors or 5 colors or whatever. And I did like a number that was not there. So I did my own chart. Anyway, the actual knitting is pretty straightforward. It is a really fun, simple slip stitch pattern. So it's actually stripes with a slip stitch. So there's no managing multiple colors at the same time. And it's really, that makes it very fun to knit because you're always trying to get to the next stripe. So we're going to talk about colors. So again, this is all BFL sock and pure BFL. The main color, this gold, is Harvest Gold. This blue that you see here is it's a kettle dye of one dye color. I like it a lot though. It's a good like medium. I mean, it's called Wedgwood and it's a Wedgwood blue. It's great. The green is Magical Mystery Tour. The peach is the corner of Peachtree and Peachtree. The maroon, like wine burgundy, is the Bars in the Bowery Hotel. The white is Toasted Marshmallow. The dusty pink is A Rose for Emily. This green is Arsenic and Good Taste. And this like aqua green is Silver Springs. I love this combination. It is like, it really is, when I picked the colors, it really is what I want to wear this time of year. That's sort of like springy, but still like there's a little bit of saturated in it. And it looks great with all of, I mean, it's got so many colors and it looks great with all of my clothes. So I have thoroughly been enjoying this one. It only has buttons at one shoulder, and this was something, it was a pattern that I think was like directly from a vintage pattern, upgraded with grading and sizing and stuff like that, but like the actual construction was vintage. And it had at like the shoulder, like this weird, I'm trying to think, on the button side, it like pulled weird. So I just did like regular buttonholes in the knitting, and that worked really, really well. So I changed that up a little bit, and I did a 3-needle bind off. That's what this is on this side, and I really like it. More vintage glass buttons. I should not be left unsupervised, frankly, ever. And then I, of course, did my ribbon on the button side. It's my favorite. So those three, I'm really, really pleased. I started, if you are new, you don't know this, I started doing a vintage wardrobe project. It was kind of supposed to be a capsule wardrobe, and then I was like, oh no, this is like my personal style. And so it's really, really fun to have some vintage style knits to go with everything. And because I found my perfect trousers pattern, which it's the Smooth Sailing trousers by Wearing History. And also I really like the Folkwear Rosie the Riveter trouser version with the waistband from Smooth Sailing and a side zipper. So I have two pants patterns that I've been making, which is really great because I haven't worn pants in years really, because it was hard to find ones that I liked. God, my bangs are just ridiculous. I have a haircut on Tuesday, so it'll look better. So anyway, I have all of these trousers now that I'm thoroughly enjoying wearing, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can wear pullovers again, because I'd stopped making pullovers because I was only wearing dresses. So it's kind of nice to do stuff that's not I knit nothing but cardigans. I think it was the year before last. Yeah, it's like nothing but cardigans. So many cardigans. So it's nice to not do cardigans, and I'm really enjoying wearing the pullovers. And they work with all the blouses. I mean, everything just works together, and it's magical. So those are kind of the three big finished objects. We're gonna move on to whips. So speaking of, let's keep it vintage. We're gonna keep it vintage. So this is Dream Cast On. That has been on my radar forever. So I have talked about this here. I am obsessed with the BBC Historic Farm series. If you are not familiar, oh boy, they're so good. So there are multiple seasons and eras, and it is basically like a combination of smart people doing farm chores is really what it is. And it's a social historian and two archaeologists, and they like pick a time and they go live and work the farm with whatever animals would have been there, whatever techniques, whatever technology, whatever. They like eat the food. It's literally the best television. I cannot tell you how much I love these, how much joy they bring me. And so there's I don't even think I'm gonna be able to get them all. There's one that's like I think a Stuart, so like early Stuart though. I'm gonna do them in chronological and not actual like order of the shows. There's that one. There's a Tudor monastery. There is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss stuff. You know what? Fine. Okay, there's two. There's the Stuart one, the Tudor monastery. There's a medieval, I'm out of order. There's a medieval castle one. There is a Victorian, there's an Edwardian, there's a wartime. Those are my three favorites. And it's just the best television ever. It's not like reality, like, gosh, I hate when reality TV is like really dramatic. These are just like smart people doing stuff that they enjoy. And there's no interpersonal drama. Like the drama is like, the sheep are giving birth, which is like legit drama. That's not like, no one's fussy. They're all friends. It's so cute. Oh, there's also a railroad one called Full Steam Ahead. That was not coherent. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, so Wartime Farm, very much my fashion era. And one of the presenters, Alex Langlands, who is an archaeologist who has a book called Craeft that I am also reading, wears the most spectacular Fair Isle vest the whole series. And like the first time I saw it, this was like 5 years ago, the first time I saw it, I was like, I have to make that vest. It is incredible. Well, Susan Crawford has a pattern. Okay, so she had a pattern that was like all ages, all sizes, all genders. And then she has like a men's one. And on like when you go to on Ravelry, like if you're gonna buy the pattern on Ravelry, she says like that the all genders ages one is kind of under renovation and will be published eventually, but the men's one was available. Well, I was like, I am not dude shaped in any way. I guess I'll just wait. Well, then I finally got sad and decided to go and like see if I could modify the men's one. It starts at a 30-inch bust. I can just like do my bust size, which is a 32. I can do my 32-inch bust and I can make all the mods because I'm like learning how to do stuff. So that is what happened. I don't think I'm obsessed. So I actually stuck pretty close to the colors from the original. I am working from stash yarn and we will talk more about that later. So I stuck pretty close to the original. So it's a little more primary than my normal deal, but oh my gosh, I love it. Look at this. Okay, it's lumpy because it's color work and it needs to be blocked, but like look at this. They look like quilt stars and it's just like so bold and graphic and I am thoroughly enjoying it. It is just like, it makes me so happy. I've never wanted to cosplay as anyone in my life, but oh my gosh, do I want to cosplay as Alex Langlands in Wartime Farm. I even have corduroy trousers. I have a fedora. Like I am ready. So I am really excited. I'm hoping to finish this one before it gets cold. It gets too cold, the other one, before it gets too hot to wear. We can stay cool kind of through parts of March. I don't think it's gonna happen. But anyway, it will be loved forever and ever. But yeah, so I'm going to be Alex and I'm so excited. So it's very delightful. I'm using the stitch count. No, I'm not. Am I? I don't remember. I wrote them all down. They're all in Ravelry. But in order to get like a little bit closer, sort of more vintage femme fit, I cast on based on gauge ribbing for my waist measurement, and then in the first row increase to my stitch count for my bust measurement. So it'll be a little bit more fitted at the waist, which is what I want. And I'm also gonna have to be really careful. It's got a big, deep armhole. This is the thing with me and vests. Like I have to be really careful about the arm side depth. This is a problem I have in ready-to-wear clothing too. So it's like, I think for my bust size, it was like 8 inches, which would be like halfway down my torso. So I'm gonna have to kind of watch that. Again, basically, the TLDR of this is none of my knitting is ever going to be simple again because I want it to fit. So it's fine. So anyway, that is the Wartime Farm vest by Susan Crawford. That is just delightful. Yarn is a mix, but it's mostly Rauma Phenol, which I love. It's a Norwegian wool. It's like $10 for 50 grams, so it's not super expensive. It wears beautifully. It's not super soft, but it blooms really well. I love it. It's kind of one of my go-to rustic sweater yarns. So I'm using the red, this blue, I don't remember what they're called, and then the oatmeal. This is wheat heather. This is like, I have 3 things in this. It's like the perfect heathered medium brown, and then a gold. And also the green is Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. Standard itchy yarns. I love them. I actually really love the 2-ply jumper weight. It blocks so beautifully, and it's not, I mean, it's like not soft exactly, but it's just really nice. I really like that Shetland wool. And this is a good time to talk about it. I actually decided at the beginning of the year that I was going to start implementing the circa I think it's 1940, couponing system for rationing fabric, yarn, and clothes. It is a way for me to really focus on using what I have. I am pro stash. Let me just get that out there. I am not a minimalist. Also, I sell yarn for a living, so please don't be a minimalist. But like, I'm not a minimalist. But I also I find that my plans sometimes outpace my time, and sometimes when my plans outpace my time, then I end up buying stuff, and then I don't get to it for a while, and like I have limited storage space. And I also only buy stuff that I really love and I kind of want to use it. So it's I'm not on I don't like the diet culture stuff around fabric buying and yarn buying like at all. Like I have really, really deep philosophical issues with that. I don't think that I'm taking up too much space or anything like that. It literally is just a way for me to game my own brain and be like, okay, well maybe you can use the fabric that you have instead of buying new fabric every time you have a thought. That's it. So I'm really, really privileging working from stash. I have found loopholes. Okay. And I'm trying to decide like how loophole I want to be because, you know, but I really am privileging working from stash. My loopholes are, I'm not counting yarn that I dye as sort of using coupons on, because that's not, like, that's part of my, in some ways that is actually part of my business and part of my livelihood. And like that yarn already exists. Like I'm not exchanging more money for that yarn, but also like it is publicity for me too. So that's one of my loopholes. And I definitely ordered some stuff right before the first of the year. But I'm trying. It actually has been really helpful as kind of an enabling constraint, right? Like it helps me organize stuff. I will say I'm running up against some of it like today, and I'm not sure how loopholey I want to be. I'll talk about that, but so I've really been privileging working from stash. I am a little concerned that I'm going to run low on the green, but it's a vest. It doesn't have sleeves. It's a widely available yarn, but I will suck it up and buy more green yarn if I need to. So that's that one. And then the last one is like now for something completely different. I have been talking about a collaboration with a friend forever. You may know her as Norichan Knits on Instagram. I feel like I knit her Steggy shawl in like 2018, and I made it like freaking enormous rainbow gradient. And we started talking on Instagram, and like we've been friends ever since, and she's delightful. And she published a vest pattern and then is doing a button-up version of the vest, which like, hello, a button-up vest is very much in my wheelhouse. Well, I've been trying to throw yarn at her forever. I love sending designers yarn support. Like I like it. I mean, a collaboration is nice, but like in general, I like to support my friends, and like there's plenty of yarn around here. So she reached out to me right before Christmas and was like, do you want to do a collaboration on this? And I was like, absolutely. So it is, mine does not have a button band yet. So this is the Linden button up. It is in testing now. The pattern releases, I believe, March the 8th or 18th. I can't remember. And if I have my shit together, which is always a question, I may have yarn kits available. I know people like those. I forget that people like yarn kits because I personally am, hello, I'm a complete color control freak. I dye my own. That's why I started dyeing yarn. But I know some people really like that. And also, as always, I'm always happy to help with color. Like I live and breathe this stuff. I'm always happy if you need help picking colors. But here's the vest. It's cropped. I mean, I'm short, but it's cropped. So it is there's a lot of stuff that's really fun about it. It is a DK weight. So this is BFL DK and this is White Russian. And it is a floofy yarn that any floofy yarn you can knit up to a DK weight. So this is my Surrey silk floof. So it's a Surrey alpaca and silk blend. I love this yarn. I say it looks like a wet Muppet in the skein, and I'm like so bad at selling it, but it really is I don't touch my mohair silk anymore because it's so soft. So here it is. Oh, so the Surrey Silk Floof is electric disco clam. So let me just talk about all the things I love about this. I still need to do the button band. And if I do kits, they will have buttons in them because I make those too. It is knit in pieces, which I know can be a little bit, I had a little bit of an existential crisis about how bad I am at seaming, which you can see, it's not perfect. But I also think it's a really good skill. And so if you are a beginner knitter and you're intimidated by that, honestly, like it's a good thing to know how to do. I've really been, with the set and sleeves and all of the sweaters that I've been doing, like it opens up a whole other world of knitting. Like a lot of cabled cardigans are knit with seams because it gives them a little bit more structure. And especially in something like this where like the floof yarn is drapey, it's got silk in it, that it gives it a little bit more structure. And it's good to learn new things, even if you have an existential crisis about it and like almost cry because, you know, new things are hard. So that is very fun. It is also a really effective use of yarn. Now, again, I'm the size of a 12-year-old boy, right? Like, we all get that. But it uses, this is how much of one skein of the floof that I have left. Like, I say it's like half a skein. So it's a really, really good use of yarn. And I used a partial skein and then this one. And of course, did I weigh it? No. But I think for me, I think I could get one out of like a skein of DK and a skein of floof. Again, child-sized. So your mileage may vary. And there are lots of size options. So it's fully size inclusive because she's always been good at that. So I really enjoyed it. So you knit and it zooms because it's a DK weight. And so you do the ribbing and then so you do the back first and then you do each front panel. So you get a little dopamine hit when you finish a thing. And it's got a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders. And then you just pick up for the ribbing. I love it. Okay, also, yes, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that I made something neon. I dye a lot of neon yarn, but like my own color palette is like autumnal as hell. But I couldn't. I tried, I picked out sensible things and I was like, nope, screw it. I'm going with electric disco clam because look at this. Look at this. This is a second skein, by the way. If you buy one, it will not have white patches on it. Look at this. It's like the most ridiculous hot coral, hot peach, delightful thing ever. And I love, love, love hot peach and oatmeal. I've had this conversation. Amy Beth from the Fat Squirrel knit a sweater with this combination. And I was like, yep, that's the one. There's just something about a hot peach and an oatmeal. And I thought about it because I am a practical human and I'm not. And I thought about it and I have some linen, some ultramarine blue linen cut. It's for the smooth sailing trousers that I just didn't get to last summer. And I think this with an ultramarine linen trouser and like a puffy sleeve collared blouse is going to be absolutely adorable. So it's actually very useful. So that is the Linden button up. It is not out yet, but the vest version is. There's one that doesn't have buttons on it. That's out. So stay tuned for that. Okay, we are 33 minutes in. We have talked about yarn. Okay, we're going to talk about sewing. So in the theme of the year of me making do and mending, I decided that finally, I've been talking about this for 3 years. It was time for me to start quilting. And I've been whinging, I think is the appropriate term, about it on Instagram. I have a throw quilt. I have all the blocks done. I haven't sewn all the blocks together, but I have all the blocks done. I did a pinwheel. I had so much fun cutting fabric, coming up with combinations. I have so much scrap fabric. When I make project bags, I end up with a 6-inch, so random, a 6-inch wide strip left over from the interior of the larger bags, the wedge-shaped ones, which doesn't sound like much, but I've also been doing this for 6 years. So every time I do one of those, that happens. And so I've saved them all. I send them to friends sometimes. I have friends who are quilters. I've sent out a bunch recently. I kind of do what I can. And then there's the garment sewing, which is just fabric central. And, there's stuff from when I first started sewing, when I was figuring it out, because I had to figure out how to make the project bags. And anyway, there's just I'm afraid they're going to become sentient, honestly. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go through, I'm going to figure this out. Well, I had a lot of fun doing the piece thing. It's, you know, project bag making is cutting rectangles, so like cutting squares wasn't that different. I'm really familiar with my sewing machine. I'm familiar with like mechanics of things, seam allowances. I can sew in a straight line. I mean, there's like, I'm a fairly experienced sewist. So that part was delightful. So before I ordered backing, which Steven made me count in my rationing, so mad. So I have to use coupons for that, so we'll have to tally that up. But I ordered backing, which should be here today. It is a really obnoxious Liberty quilting cotton that looks like a flour sack towel, which is exactly the vibe I was going for. This quilt is like it is not sleek and modern and planned because I don't want it to be. I wanted this to be like the way that my great grandmother would have thought about quilting, which is like you have bits of fabric left over from making clothes and flour sacks. And okay, we don't flour sacks. I wish we did. But so I wanted it to be very much in that spirit. I am not coming at this as someone who's going to like buy charm packs and buy fat quarter bundles and like buy patterns. Like I wanted this to be very like, it's make, do, and mend, right? So I figured before I actually tried to back a 60 by 60, well, it's 54 by 54 throw quilt for the first time and bind it. And like, I've never done this before. I was like, okay, I'll make a pot holder. So I made the block for the pot holder and I have made a quilted pot holder. I'm going to say, I do really like it. I did not like the process, and I'm going to talk about why. So here it is. It is it's all half square triangles. So here's the front and here's the back. I hand sewed down the binding because I actually am totally fine with that. I hand hem all my pants, and I made a bunch of maker's totes, the patterns by Noodlehead. This is one of them. And you have to sew down the binding on like a layer, like 2 layers of foam and stuff. So like doing a quilt binding, I was like, whatever, it's fine. So it's all scraps. I have clothes in this and clothes in this. Some of these are bag fabrics. I loved making the block, right? It's very, very satisfying. I had some grouchy issues with the quilting. One thing I am noticing is that it's like quilting, like the piecing is very exact, right? Like you have your ruler, you have your rotary cutter, all of that. And like it matters, right? Like being off by a little bit means that your stuff's not going to work. And I'm fairly precise in that. And I'm like, cool, I can do this. And then it comes time to quilt and everyone's like, just do what feels good. Nothing feels good. I don't know what feels good. I don't have feelings. This is construction. I don't have feelings about this. So free motion quilting is 1,000% not for me. And so I was just like, I made this beautiful block and I didn't want to make it look like crap by quilting it poorly. And so I tried to stitch in the ditch, which I do in garment sewing all the time, and it was not fun. And you can see. So I ended up, I stitched in the ditch. Sounds like not the right past tense. I did stitch in the ditch on all of these, and I was like, no, this is garbage, because it looked bad. Like, and I was using a contrast thread because I only had cotton in ivory. And so I took that out, and then I did diagonal lines, and like, I can sew a straight line, except for that one. That was a little wobbly. It's perfectionist hell is what it is. So I did not thoroughly enjoy that. And yes, okay, I'm going to address this. I love y'all so much, and I am so glad that so many people are invested in me doing this, but I am allergic to unsolicited advice. It makes me insane. And like, I love that I have all of these people who I can ask, and I promise if I need anything, I will ask. Like, I'm so good at that, and I love that you want to help, but like, I can't with unsolicited advice. I get really grouchy, and it's not cute. So one of my friend Emily, hello Emily, if you were watching, who is also the person who got me to try garment sewing again. So she's just like the best enabler ever, was like, try diagonal lines. And so I got a ruler and I drew diagonal lines, and I was like, okay, this feels better. It did want to move a little bit, but I think it's okay. I'm sorry if, I know. I'm sorry if you're like I'm not an actual beginner. That's what's so frustrating. So like, I've sewn all of my own clothes for 3 years. Like, I've had a bag making business for 6. Like, the idea that I am not an expert at something sewing related makes me really grumpy. So there was a lot of whining, but I am really pleased with it. I used a layer of Insel Bright, the like heat resistant one, and a layer of cotton, 100% cotton batting. It feels a little thin, but we gave it a little test run on a hot pan and it was fine. It's bigger than I thought because I can't do math, but that's part of the course. So this is my pot holder. I found a little tutorial on, not even a tutorial, it was a diagram on Pinterest, and that's what I made. And I'm not gonna lie, I love this block. I think a block like this, if I did ice dyed fabrics and did like a rainbow gradient, would be stunning. So I said I would talk about my loopholes in my rationing. This is one. So I cut enough half square triangles to make 2 of these. And I miscalculated and I didn't have one 3.5-inch square of this fabric, okay? So I went on a hunt, and of course it's out of print. And like, it matters, right? Like, so if I have the corners different, it's like not gonna be the same kind of cohesiveness. So I went to go find it. Well, I found it, and the website I found it on also has some of my absolute favorite vintage RU bag fabrics, like the ones that are out of print, like the Rifle Paper Company Jungle Menagerie one. If you know what I'm talking about, I don't have anything that has it like near. I made a skirt out of it. Like, it has been my favorite fabric forever. So like I had to order that, right? And there was another one. So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a Republica Unicornia throwback bag fabric update, because of course, and me, so I like went down this rabbit hole and like found sites that had some of these, because like smaller shops don't sell through stuff that fast, and like these are fabrics from like 2017, and so like people have backlog of stuff. Oh, it's on. So what happened was, this is the loophole. So there is a fabric that I made bags out of in 2019 that is a poplin, that is there's purple, there's unicorns, it's like very tapestry, but like graphic, like graphic unicorn tapestry. It's gorgeous. And I was like, okay, well, I need to buy this for bags, but also I need to buy it for pajamas. So does that count in my fabric rationing or no? Because it's bag fabric. Like, that's work fabric. Am I going to use all of it for work? No. Am I going to use some of it for work? Yes. So anyway, I'm still deciding. I'm sitting on it. So quilting. So I need to sew together all of my quilt blocks for my big quilt. So I'm not looking forward to machine quilting it. And I've had 2 people who have fairly similar brains to me and also garment sew like I do say that they prefer hand quilting. I think I'm going to try machine for the first one, and we'll go from there. I don't know that I'm going to get super into it, but it's really satisfying. And it's like knitting pieced garments, right? Like, there's that dopamine hit. You're like, I finished a thing. And it's such a fun way to play with color. And I obviously like can't get enough of that in my life. So I will see. I mean, I obviously have like plans, but it is cutting into my garment sewing time, which feels a little weird. So we're going to mainly talk about plans, garment plans. So stay tuned. Over on the Instagrams, you will see me whine, frankly, about a lot of stuff. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think ice dyed fabrics would be really fun too. I have some floating around, but I think it'd be fun to do a rainbow. Team rainbow. Okay, so that's quilting. We're gonna talk about garment plans. Oh, I do have a finished object that I am wearing. Let's see if I can stand up and not shake the table. So this is the smooth sailing, I'm also wearing smooth sailing trousers. This is the smooth sailing blouse. However, I modified it and added a Peter Pan collar. This has been my vintage wardrobe white whale for like 3 months now. I really wanted a 1940s Peter Pan collar. Now a 1940s Peter Pan collar they tend to be smaller, and like there's like a button in between them. It's like so I tried the Colette Violet pattern and I ended up making all these mods, and like, it's okay. I give my final one that I spent all this time on like a solid B. And I was like, okay, the smooth sailing blouse is the best blouse pattern ever to exist. It just is. It's my favorite. It's my go-to. And when I was making my Christmas outfit, I cut down, because the original collar is like it's huge. It's like a huge dramatic collar. And so I cut it down a little bit and I really liked it. And I was like, well, what if I just take the cut down collar and round it off like a Peter Pan collar and add another buttonhole? And I did, and I love it. It's a little, like, I feel it. It's not that it's tight, because there's actually plenty of ease. It's not that it's tight, it's just like I feel it, because I'm used to wearing stuff that it's lower cut. But I absolutely love it. And this is a yarn dyed gingham from Mood. I think I got it on sale. And it's like a blue, like kind of like a dark teal and like a sage, and I really like it. I definitely have plans to make an ivory cotton lawn one of these, because it's like full on wardrobe staple. So we're going to talk about plans, because I haven't been sewing that much. So I might shake the table because I did. I ordered a bunch of books. So I started with this one. So I have the whole series. Well, I have the whole series and all the eras that I'm interested in. When I started getting into historic clothes officially, I have no desire to be fancy. I am not a fancy person. I want to know what people wore day to day, which is another reason why like the 20th century is really my era. I don't want to make I don't want foof. I don't want to have to deal with fancy underpants. Like, I don't want anything like that. I want to know what like regular humans did to go about their lives. So I ordered this one. This is Everyday Fashions of the 40s. I don't know if it's gonna, I don't know. Is it backwards? It might be backwards. I don't know how anything works. So this is the Everyday Fashions of the 1940s as seen in the Sears Roebuck catalog. So it's like very like normal. Hold on, let's find some fun stuff. I do not like 1948. Hot take, I do not like the Dior new look. I am here for like early 40s all the way. So like, this is not, okay, this one, this is the one. Eating a potato, hell yeah. Wearing flannel and eating a potato, that is my vibe. So it's everyday stuff. It's not like fancy ball gowns. Like, I mean, Sears was very much a like every like middle class kind of middle America kind of thing. So it's not high fashion. And so I loved that one so much that I ordered 1909 to 1920 and the 1920s, because and I'll talk about this. I'm obsessed with 1920s day wear. I do not want a flapper dress. I don't want beaded shit. I just want to wear like that. Like that. And also that. So I wanted to get a 20s one. So I got the 20s and then I got the 30s. I ordered these used. I am delighted by being able to order used books on the internet. I'm only like how many years late to that being a thing, but I really, really like these. And they're just such nice eye candy. You're like, I mean, just like I am old enough to remember this. Like when the Sears catalog came at Christmas and you just like sit through it. It's like that, but with historic stuff. And I'm so sad I can't order things. So although I am obsessed with the 1940s, I actually also really love the 1920s. And it's harder to find it's just harder to find stuff. So I found a source on Etsy that does redrawn vintage patterns. They are not sized. I'm going to have to do size adjustments. At this point, however, I have to do size adjustments on everything. So I'm thinking getting something down from a 36-inch bust to a 32-inch bust is like going to be annoying, but like doable. So I ordered a couple of things. Yarn Spouse and I have a trip planned, and I would love to have a 1920s capsule wardrobe. However, I'm going to have to actually make said capsule wardrobe. So I'm holding that one loosely. But I ordered, so it's Vintage Pattern Lending Library, and they had printed ones because I do not enjoy PDF taping. If I don't have to, I will pay money to have someone print it for me. So this is a morning frock. I love all of them. I really like that collar. If you are looking for a modern sewing pattern that has that kind of like 1920s collar, the Patina blouse by Friday Pattern Company is ride or die. It's like my second favorite blouse pattern after the smooth sailing. It's amazing, and it's also incredibly fun, thoughtful to sew, and it's just really nice. So that's the 1920s morning frock. This is I also really like the early 20s is the other thing. I like the early 20s. That sort of transitional between like the post-war. I mean, like you see it like some in like 1917, but that kind of moving out of the Edwardian into sort of it's just such a shift. But I love that like transitional period. Think early episodes, like the first 2 seasons of Boardwalk Empire. I'm rewatching. I want all of those clothes. I want to like send their costume designer flowers. They are all so beautiful. And I would wear all those clothes now. So this is a 1921 skirt. This actually is my size, so that's good. We'll see. I don't know. And then this one, and I think this one, this is a little bit more of a reach and a little bit more of a costume project. We do an event we go to an event at our local historic cemetery in Atlanta. And they have a costume contest, which I've entered the last 2 years and won Best Handmade the last 2 years. Let's make it 3. So this one feels a little bit more in that, and I would actually love to get this done earlier in the year, so I'm not like making myself sick worrying about sewing a costume for a cemetery costume contest, which is what has happened the last 2 years. I love this. Look at it. Look at this, like, I love it so much. Good hat. The Folkwear Metropolitan hat would actually work really well with this. And I already have one made that I made last year. So anyway, this is kind of on my list of things. It's just, I love it. So I'm going to have to figure out some size stuff, which is not fun, but it is what it is. And one more book. This is not related. Well, it is. It's extremely related to all of my interests. Did you have this? Were you this girl? Because I 1000% still am. Why do you think I'm doing all this? It's like basically early exposure to American Girl dolls is like literally my entire deal as an adult. Like everything, like my whole, like of the things that determine my life path, 100%. I had Samantha and I had Felicity. And I played with those dolls like through the 6th grade. I was like embarrassed of it, which is very sad. But I loved them. I love them so much. So I ordered the cookbook. I had the cookbook as a kid. My mom says she still has it. She thinks she still has it somewhere, but I ordered it used. And it's amazing. We're going to just talk a little bit about this. I didn't have Molly. My best friend had Molly. But I also 1000% own this Fiesta wear. Like I have this color, the like aqua, and I have the cobalt, and I have for many, many years. In my brain, and again, it's a lot going on in there. I would love to do like, I was thinking like it might actually be a good Reels thing where I make all of the things for Molly's and like do like a little reel of making the recipes. I definitely made I remember making the applesauce cupcakes. I remember making these, but I left the raisins out because raisins are of the devil. I definitely remember that. My other favorite thing in here is Samantha. So like this is first of all, one thing I really loved about coming to this book as an adult is that it is not dumbed down. Like nothing in this is like you're a kid so you're stupid. Like just nothing in it is, there's like rye bread. I mean, there's like stuff like fairly advanced cooking techniques. But my favorite is the roasted beef tenderloin. Like you're going to turn a 10-year-old loose on like a $75 cut of meat. I love that energy. But it has like little historical, I mean, honestly, it really does explain so much about my interests as an adult. Like, and I know it is not without its own sort of, of the time critiques. Like I get that, but like also it is just like there's such good sort of social history stuff and like everyday, I mean, it explains why I'm so into everyday fashion, that this is not about like the sort of like monarchies and wars and stuff. This is like everyday people's lives, and that's what I loved about American Girl dolls, is like it was a very immersive sense of history and like obviously set me up for all kinds of shenanigans as an adult. So feel free to leave comments below if you want to talk about AG. I'm a fan. Samantha, I don't know who I would be. I don't know who I would be. Samantha's too prissy for me, but then she does get involved in labor relations stuff, which like I can totally get on board with. I don't know. I don't know who I'd be. And I also am old, so the cookbook was before Felicity and Addie. So I kind of like, I stopped at Addie. Like, so 1994 was, I mean, I didn't, but like that was the last one that I remember. I also have saved on my desktop, I found on Flickr, I should just share this below, y'all need this. The 1994 holiday catalog, just like shots of it. And it's saved on my bookmarks bar with like instant dopamine hit. So like if I'm sad, I'll just like go look at it. Just so good. So good. I am really glad I grew up into the kind of adult I did, because it makes up for how weird I was as a kid. So that is the creative making stuff. Just brief shameless self-promotion. I do have a shop update. I'm doing it on Leap Day, which is Thursday, February the 29th at 7 p.m. at republicaunicornia.com. I'm looking around. I had my first dye day yesterday. There's going to be yarn, including on the BFL silk cashmere base that I was talking about, and also an alpaca silk cashmere floofy yarn, which is amazing. So I'm apparently in my fancy yarn era. So there's going to be lots of yarn, all kinds of different bases, colorways, like it's a big restock. And I've got some fiber going. It's Rambouillet right now, but I ordered more, and I ordered Rambo, and I ordered some Tarhi. So there might be a little bit of variety. We'll see what I get to. Might be a little bit of variety. Mini skein sets and also project bags. So lots going on. This is like my first big it always is big update of the year. So if you want to stay in touch about all that, the mailing list is really the best way. I do not send out a lot of emails, y'all. I have to write those. I don't like writing them. So the newsletter, I will send out an email the week of the shop update, and then like at the time of the shop update to remind you, and like that's kind of it. So you're not going to get inbox clogged at all. Instagram is an excellent place to stay in touch. I will leave that below. It is Republica_Unicornia_yarns. And also I started a second account to document a lot of the vintage style sewing and knitting and clothing and all that kind of stuff. And that is Republica_Unicornia_can_do_it, I think, but I will leave it below. Instagram loves an underscore, and I just wanted to keep it consistent. So it's Republica Unicornia can do it. Like we can do it, like Rosie the Riveter. See, I thought about it. So that is there. That is like a low key. There's like no shameless self promotion. It's just like me doing stuff. So that is there. Okay, we did it. Less than an hour. Well, I hope you are making things that make you really happy, and I hope you are making all of your childhood dreams come true by just living your best American girl life, if that's your deal. I hope that you are staying warm and surviving winter. We're almost there. You can do it. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye.